Now I believe, Francesca, we've reestablished contact with Ford O'Connell, this time via telephone. So your features are frozen, Ford, but your comments, I know, will be incisive and to the point. Two Ohioans, a crucial state. Will either Portman or Kasich run for president, or perhaps both?
Well, I could certainly see John Kasich. First, of course, he has to win re-election in Ohio with the governor's race here in 2014. He's got a strong conservative record, and he's also got a strong economic record. And as you've mentioned, it's the second most important swing state in the Electoral College. I think right now he is seen mostly as a fallback for establishment donors if an acceptable candidate sort of doesn't emerge. Rob Portman, on the other hand, is in a very different situation. He has publicly said he won't seek the 2016 nomination, but as JD, as you and I both know, I don't take anybody's word on that thing. But, his future really depends on what Kasich does. They'd be relying on the same well of donors. I love Rob. He's a pragmatic, solutions-oriented guy. The problem is he doesn't exactly light your hair on fire on the stump.
Now, Ford, what about Susana Martinez?
Why, Susana Martinez is a female Hispanic who's a border state governor with fantastic crossover appeal. Her backstory is literally the modern American dream. She grew up blue-collar, former Democrat who put herself through law school to become district attorney in New Mexico. And she takes care of her little sister Letty, who has cerebral palsy. Trust me, this is a great campaign story. She gives great stump speeches. She said she doesn't want to go for the presidency. Let me tell you the following. I'm going to make this prediction. I see her as the VP choice of just about everyone in the field who could possibly wind up as a Republican nominee, particularly given the nation's changing demographics. So
you're going to put your money on Susana Martinez as number two, as a running mate, given the strength she brings geopolitically and ethnically to the Republican Party and possibly to a national ticket. Ford, let's sprint through some of the brand name candidates, if you will. First up, Jeb Bush. Everybody knows the Bush name. The speculation about his unfortunate comments on immigration, illegal immigration being an act of love, his embrace of Common Core curriculum. Is that going to do him in? Your take on that?
Let's put it this way. If his last name wasn't Bush, he'd probably already be sitting in the White House. Clearly he's driven an uproar among conservatives with his positions on Common Core and immigration reform and his rusty re-entry into politics. But here's the deal. He wants to run, and he could conceivably fundraise everyone in the field. And as you know, JD, if you can raise enough money to outlast the rest of the field in what's likely to be a crowded affair, you always have a chance. But I do think it's going to be a game-time decision for Jeb Bush.
And Rick Perry is another name being tossed around at this stage, but we will remember this moment when he said he would cut 3 cabinet-level departments. I believe we have that moment.
And I will tell you, it's 3 agencies of government when I get there that are gone. Commerce, education, and the, what's the third one there? Let's see.
So what about that brain freeze, Ford? I guess if Perry gets into the race, he starts out with a bunch of jokes and starts naming off things by 3. Would that be the
Well, you
tack
got
he
a
would
great
take?
point, JD, and that is sometimes you only get one opportunity to make a first impression, and Perry wasn't exactly ready for prime time in 2012. And I'm not sure donors and voters are going to forget. Yes, he marshals over the best state economy in the country, and Perry's hungry for a second chance, and he's working hard to repackage himself, but I'm just not sure. He's going to throw his hat in the ring. The only question is whether voters pick up what he's putting down.
One more name about a guy who's been around the track. He joined us earlier on the program. He'll be back with us in a couple of minutes. That's former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. Some polling from Iowa and South Carolina right now have Huckabee on top. Your take on the former Arkansas governor?
Well, he's doing very well in the polls, and I'm going to tip my hat to Mike. He's really harnessed his populist message, and he's a darling of social conservatives. If you want to outlast this field, you have to have a core set of supporters that you can rely on. I'm a big fan of Mike, but I'm not sure he wants to run because, let's be honest, he's got a great deal at Fox News, and when he ran in 2008, he had to retire a lot of debt after that run. I'm not sure he wants to put himself and his family through that again, even though he's near the top of the polls right now.
Well, we also want to turn our attention to the nail-biter race in Mississippi, where Senator Cochran faces Senator Chris McDaniel. What does this race mean for the Tea Party?
Well, I think the Tea Party needed a head on the mantle, if you will, if they can win this runoff, which I think that McDaniel's going to be favored because his supporters have something that Cochran's doesn't, which is excitement. Again, there's a lot of fundraising in play here, but I'm going to tip my hat to Chris McDaniel. Thad Cochran's campaign through everything, including the kitchen sink at McDaniel, and the challenger stood his ground. And I think that McDaniel's is going to be a favorite here if we do have the runoff, or else he's going to win outright. And frankly, he should win in the general election unless he makes a Todd Aiken-worthy gaffe. So
now this is interesting, Ford, because we see your magnanimity toward those from the Tea Party. No offense, pal, but you're there ensconced in Washington, and while you offer analysis from time to time, we think that perhaps you take an establishment point of view. But I know you call them as you see them, Ford, and we always appreciate your assessment.
Thank you very much, JD, and great chatting, Francesca.
Thank you.
We look forward to having you back, Ford, as always, and get your take on other primaries still to come. And let's not forget the runoffs that are in the offing, most notably Mississippi. Well, we hope you'll stay with us, because when we come back, the Secretary of Defense asks for patience while his department investigates the story behind Bo Bergdahl's walking off the base. And first he was in, now he's out. Dan Marino deciding to back off from that lawsuit against the NFL. That's coming up following the break. But of course, we always want your input on the stories we talk about here on America's Forum. Here's the way you send it to us. You can tweet us your comments at Newsmax TV, hashtag America's Forum, and then there's email. Believe it or not, 10 years ago, there was a hoax going around when I was in Congress. People were writing me saying, what about this bill in Congress where you have to have a stamp for email? No, it was a hoax. Email is still free. You can send it to us at this address, connect@newsmaxtv.com. And then there's Facebook. Let's not forget Facebook, y'all. Calling all our friends to check in. Facebook.com/Newsmax. A check of the headlines, Newsmax now, when we come back on America's Forum.